Guys, let's be real for a second. If you've been in this fandom long enough, if you've watched every little moment, every glance, every laugh, every soft interaction between Jimin and Jungkook, then you felt it too, right? Something changed. And I know a lot of you didn't want to say it out loud, because it's uncomfortable, because it makes you question things. But today, we're not ignoring it anymore. Today, we're talking about it. Why do Jimin and Jungkook feel different in public now? Why does their interaction feel more controlled, more reserved, less spontaneous than before? And the biggest question that's been quietly echoing in this community, is this really their choice, or is there something bigger behind it, like new rules from HYB Corporation? Now, before you panic, before you jump to conclusions, stay with me. Because what we're about to unpack isn't just surface-level fandom speculation. There are layers here, real ones, emotional ones. And honestly, some of it might actually make you understand them more than ever before. Because here's the thing, what we see on screen has never been the full story. Not back then and definitely not now. But the shift? Oh, it's real. And fans didn't imagine it. Think back for a second. Remember those early years? The way Jimin would casually lean into Jungkook, the way Jungkook would instinctively respond, the teasing, the laughter that didn't feel rehearsed, the skinship that just happened. It wasn't forced, it wasn't calculated, it felt natural, effortless, like two people who were completely comfortable with each other without thinking twice about who's watching. And that's exactly why it hit so hard. Because it didn't feel like fan service. It felt real. And that's what made so many people emotionally attached to their dynamic. But fast forward to recent years, and suddenly, things feel different. Not cold, not distant, but more careful, more measured. There's still interaction, yes, but it's subtle, controlled. Almost like there's an invisible line they don't cross anymore when cameras are on. And that's where the question started. Not from haters, but from the people who paid the most attention. The ones who know their patterns. So what happened? Well, here's where it gets complicated. Because there isn't just one answer. There are multiple possibilities, and honestly, they might all be true at the same time. First, let's talk about the most obvious factor that people often overlook: growth. Time has passed. These aren't the same boys from debut anymore. They've grown up not just as artists but as individuals. And with growth comes awareness. Awareness of image, awareness of boundaries, awareness of how every single action gets analyzed, clipped, reposted, and sometimes misunderstood. And let's not pretend this fandom hasn't played a role in that. Because we have. The more people zoom in on every interaction, the more narratives get built, the more pressure it creates. Imagine knowing that every small gesture between you and your friend is going to be turned into headlines, theories, edits, debates. At some point, you start thinking twice. Not because your relationship changed, but because the environment around it did. But wait, it doesn't stop there. Because this is where the conversation shifts into something bigger. The industry itself. K-pop isn't just music, it's image, branding, storytelling. And companies like HYB are very aware of how powerful perception is, especially when it comes to global audiences. BTS didn't just become big, they became massive. And with that level of visibility comes tighter control. Not necessarily in a negative way, but in a strategic one. So, is it possible that there are unspoken guidelines now? Not necessarily a strict "don't do this" rule, but more like a direction? A shift toward a more mature, more globally neutral image? It's not unrealistic. In fact, it makes sense. As artists evolve, so does the way they present themselves. And sometimes, that includes toning down certain dynamics that could be overly dissected or misinterpreted. But here's the part that might hit you differently. What if nothing is actually wrong at all? What if Jimin and Jungkook are still exactly the same off-camera but just choose to show less? Think about it. Real relationships, whether friendship or anything deeper, don't need constant display to exist. In fact, the stronger they are, the less they often need validation from the outside world. And maybe, just maybe, what we're seeing isn't distance but privacy. A conscious decision to protect something that means a lot to them from being overexposed. And if that's true, then what we're witnessing isn't the loss of their bond, but the evolution of it. But I know what you're thinking. Then why does it feel so different? Because energy doesn't lie. And you're right, it does feel different. But different doesn't always mean worse. Sometimes it just means quieter, more internal, less performative. And let's be honest, guys, there's also another factor we can't ignore. Solo activities, military service phases, individual schedules. These things naturally reduce shared screen time. And when you see less of something, your brain starts filling in the gaps. Sometimes with doubt, sometimes with fear, sometimes with assumptions that feel real even when they're not. But here's something important. When they do interact now, even if it's brief, there's still something there. A familiarity, a comfort, a kind of understanding that doesn't need exaggeration anymore. And that's the kind of connection that doesn't disappear overnight. That's the kind that's built over years. So instead of asking, why are they the same? Maybe the better question is, why are we expecting them to be? Because people change. Dynamics evolve. And what we're seeing now might not be a downgrade. It might just be a different version of the same story. One that's less visible, but not less meaningful. And honestly, that's harder to accept. Because as fans, we hold on to the moments that made us feel something. We want them to stay the same forever. But real life doesn't work like that. And neither do real relationships. So, is it because of HYB? Maybe partially. Is it because they've grown up? Definitely. Is it because they're more aware now? Absolutely. But is it because they've drifted apart? That we don't actually know. And maybe it's not something we're meant to fully know. What we can do, though, is choose how we respond. Do we turn it into something negative? Or do we respect that what we see is only a fraction of their reality? Because at the end of the day, being a fan isn't about controlling the narrative. It's about supporting them through every version of themselves. Even the ones that feel unfamiliar at first. And if you've stayed this long in the video, then I know you care. I know you've felt that mix of confusion, nostalgia, maybe even a little sadness. But I also know this connection you feel to them didn't come from nothing. It came from something real. And real things don't just disappear, they just change form. So maybe instead of holding on to how things used to be, we start appreciating what still exists now, even if it looks different. Now, I really want to hear from you guys. What do you think? Do you believe it's because of company influence? Or do you think it's just natural growth? Or maybe something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it as a community, respectfully, openly, and honestly. And if this video made you think or feel something, don't forget to like and subscribe because we're going to keep diving into topics like this, real conversations that matter to this fandom. I'll see you guys in the next one.